Hey there, it's 8:05 a.m. It is January 17th, and it is Wednesday, smack dab in the middle of the week. And I know some of you guys are at work, but in your mind you're thinking, I made it this far. I got 2 more days. You're thinking, can't wait for Friday. So I guess Wednesday kind of brings about the feeling of, like I said, like halfway through, and you have something to look forward to. So hopefully you guys have something planned that you really enjoy doing this weekend. And if not, you can think about what you want to do for the weekend. Hope you guys enjoy yourself. Anyway, so I was thinking today, I wanted to go see the church bell today, but it's one of those cloudy days, and so yeah, I was disappointed. But I think the weather plays a huge role when it comes to um, what they call manifestation work or spell working or however you want to look at it. I do use the weather a lot because it's a sort of magnetic energy that I think is something should be taken advantage of. So each kind of weather has its own certain power. I obviously love the sun, so anytime I can get a lot of sunlight, I am very happy. I've been told that people like suggested I move to Seattle many years ago, and I kept thinking, well, it's not, I need the sun. I need sunlight, like intense sunlight. I thrive in it. And, there's a lot of people who take advantage of that. They like laying out in the sun, getting that energy. They don't realize, they know it feels good, but they don't realize exactly what it's doing. It's revitalizing them, and it's regenerating their cells. It's so I don't know. It's just very powerful. So sunny days, of course, are my favorite. Rainy days have its own special power. I think rain can be very cleansing. I like to take advantage of the times when it rains and there's sunlight at the same time. That's a very rare occurrence. But some of you guys may have remembered, like when you're outside and the sun's still shining, but it's raining. Some people in the South refer to that as glory water. Glory water is something that I do collect when I can. I'll take like a jar or something, collect the rainwater and wash my hair with it, or just stuff like that. I guess I can understand people thinking that that's weird, but I'm just somebody who respects nature and tries to use the power that it provides. Um, Also, I don't know if I remember hearing that the song, the old spiritual Amazing Grace, is a way that if you sing that song, right, that you would be able to part the clouds, right? Nobody ever really described the song as a canticle, but I think maybe that it is. Like it has some sort of um, um, power to actually do something like that. So I tried it myself. I mean, eventually when you're looking at the sun and there's clouds blocking it, the clouds are eventually going to disperse. But apparently this song makes it so that the clouds like start parting at your will, right? So of course I tried it, and yeah, apparently it does work. But anyway, hopefully if you guys ever have a chance to do it, go ahead and give it a try and let me know if that works for you. But anyway, which is a form of practicing what they call magic or some sort of occult science, right? So that obviously the Song of Marriage and Grace comes from like the Christian faith. So yeah, people do their little things. Anyway, so I had some intuitive messages today, and I'm very glad that people understand that I deal with a lot of emotional problems, depression, stuff like that, low moods. Sometimes I just want to be to myself. Like I don't want to talk to anybody at all. You know what I mean? And like for example, like I love my son. Like I love my son. Like I think every single thing he does is cute. Like he'll be eating a bowl of cereal. I'm like, look at my son eating that bowl of cereal. Like I'm proud of it or something. But there are times where I don't even want to be around him. It's nothing personal. It's just that I don't know how to express myself or try to rise above the negative mood that I'm in. and I feel as though sometimes my mood can be so down that it can immediately drag someone else down. You know what I mean? So I spend a lot of time in solitude. I deal a lot with that low type energy. I like to constantly be moving, buzzing around in my little world, having something constantly keeping me, busy, and that's just pretty much how I operate. Um, so anyway, yeah, I'm glad people understand that, this is an issue that could affect a lot of people. Like I said, a lot of people probably would have just like blown their brains out by now, because it is a struggle. Like I've struggled my entire life, and then you find out why, and then you find out even more. Like the first, because I thought it was just my family or whatever, and you find out it's just like this weird shit that I've read about, but never thought that this shit applied to me, right? So it blows my mind, and it disturbs me, and it's weird to me, and it's sick and twisted, and it's just like wow, so I'm very appreciative to the people who are sympathetic towards me. But like I said, I am a strong person. I can deal with it. Obviously, I'm not dead from it, so I can manage to move on with my life. I'm just waiting for things to adjust itself so that I can fully move on to my life because I'm tired of like constantly sitting around and having the opportunity to think about more shit that I don't want to think about, right? So thank you for understanding that. Also, I did kind of mention this particular lady that I, befriended. And really, I have a lot of affection for her, although I do believe that she is kind of like a perp a little bit. She too is a clone. I worked with her when I was working at the base that I had mentioned. The thing is, like, when you are in this situation, you have to understand that there are people who are sent to you. Okay. And I don't know if I don't know how the whole thing unfolds. And I'm sure while I'm sitting here having nothing to do, eventually that whole shit is going to come into my head if I think about it that much. I don't want to think about that much. Okay. So that's why I'm really, 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 really wanting to get more active. And I feel like I'm kind of being slowed down. No offense, you guys. I'm talking about my little soul tribe here, but that's how I feel. But anyway, moving on. I really liked this woman because, regardless if she's a perp or not, okay, I liked her because we had a lot of things in common. You know what I mean? I also got the vibe from her that she possibly may have been a reincarnated person. She mentioned many times that she was possibly reincarnated. And we talked a lot and about sidekick type things, and we had an interest in clothes. Both of us did, and she seemed very because she grew up in like Ridgecrest, whatever, and that's not the most refined area, right? But she had this elegance about her. You know what I mean? That was just this is what I'm saying about the whole clone thing. It's just that there's something. It definitely sets people apart. It's within your makeup. It's something that you're probably carrying from different lives. Not I don't believe all clones are reincarnated. I think some clones are spawns of just like when people give birth to like a baby. It's not the baby. The baby's not reincarnated of its father. Not necessarily. I mean, that can happen, but it's just like you're an offspring. So you might be like another ancestor, or you might be like I don't know. I don't know if there's any first new souls on the earth. I don't know. I have to really think about that. Or is everybody really just kind of being recycled? You know what I mean? Like, are there new souls? Like, people who have existed in like, what we believe or think of as heaven, and then they come to earth just like, first time ever. I have remember reading something in a book one time about, and this is like a religious type movement suggesting that. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know that. I wish I knew. But that's part of my life's journey is to understand like the little details of like how these transitions work in full. You know what I mean? Like I understand a pretty good chunk of it. I'm learning more and more every day, but there's still these little things that, I would like to have answered, because it's very fascinating to me. But anyway, back to this particular person. I don't know what's going on with this lady or anything like that, but I do think about her a lot. You know what I mean? Um, it is what it is. People get used in these gossip campaigns, these smear campaigns, and I don't know, but that's too bad because it's too bad because I really really did like her. You know what I mean? I really liked spending time with her. But it is what it is. But yeah, I believe that she was a clone as well. I was thinking about like people who are clones and who had big families, and then also the people who not necessarily they're clone, but they're like adopted, just adopted kids, whatever. Um, there's certain telltale signs that um, kind of lets you know that you're not like them. Like you can obviously tell, like in your behavior and your choices and things like that. It obviously sets you apart from the rest of your family, right? But it's like the attitude of of how like your parents act towards you and your other siblings. Like they completely discredit everything that you do, and then everything that like their real siblings do, or their real children do. They tend to like think that it's the biggest thing, the biggest deal in the world. You know what I mean? Like you might do something monumental, like you might create some sort of, life-changing invention or something, and then they just kind of like shrug it off. But like if their other kid gets a job like working at Walmart or something, they just praise that kid over and over and over again, and you're just like, what the fuck, They like completely overlook anything that you do, everything that you do. And then also I remember there was a couple of kids that I would talk to, and their parents seemed really insensitive to their suffering, like which I would say there were times when my parents showed that my dad was always more caring towards me. My mom, not necessarily. There were sometimes she was sort of like kind of sadistic a little bit. Um, I'm trying to think, like, was there ever time? Now, I'm really thinking about this. Like, was there any time that my mother consoled me if something happened, like I scraped my knee or something like that? Like, my dad was like right on it. He was like holding me and all that stuff. But my mom, she was always like, "Buck up." Or like, this is another thing she would say. I cringe every time I think about it because it's like she would say, "Be the Rock of Gibraltar." What the fuck does that mean? Maybe she knew that I was set up for bullying. I don't know what that means or whatever, but it seems like little telltale signs that something's just not quite right in the family dynamic. But anyway, yeah, and then also I got this other weird message. I don't think it really involves other people or like, just anyone other than myself, but like there was a special park that I like to go to. I used to like going to, it was close to my house, okay? And I would go there, you know, I know you shouldn't walk at night, right? But here's the thing. I used to live, well, I'm still in an apartment, just in a different location. But I was in an apartment and, I like things like full moons and stuff like that. So, when you're in an apartment, you're kind of screwed because you don't have a backyard. You don't have the ability to just do your own thing in the little privacy of your home. You got neighbors watching, you got all this other stuff going on. So I'm like, I want to go to the park, and it's like past midnight, right? So, you know, I used to walk at night, just because I wanted to either like, get outside, look at the stars, or whatever. You know what I mean? I love the beauty of the nighttime, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll take my chances. So I went to the park, and I remember meeting this dude, um, this dude in the park. Okay, so I started freaking out. I kept thinking, what kind of weirdo would be? What kind of weirdo would be in the park at this time of the night? Like, I know what I'm doing in the park at night. I'm going to just go out because I wanted to be around like trees and the grove of trees, and like I wanted to be around the moonlight, right? But I kept thinking, what kind of weirdo is out here at night? He was weird though. Like he was very strange. He looked like I don't know, how can I describe it? He just had like very strange vibes coming from him. And he was drinking and he was just acting a little belligerent. And when I looked at we were talking, and he looked in my eyes, and I just thought, my God, he looked, I don't know, he looked like some sort of demon from the underworld or something. I don't know. But anyway, I kept thinking, anyway, that I wanted to go back to that park. It's in a different town, of course, but I'd like to go to that park really soon because I get a lot of good vibes there. That was like my place. It was my place to go and think and walk around and feel. There's a lot of residual energy in that park, that I like to feel around. And I don't know. And then plus, that was a park that I grew up in. I mean, like, it was close to my mom's house, and we would walk there when we were kids and go there after school or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very simple park, but it was just, I don't know, it's just a really good place, especially on full moon night. It's really nice. Anyway, people are basically, another message I got is that people feel as though I should not feel bad for my perps. Like I would, right? I don't feel bad for them. I just want to move on. I do believe that these perps are, um, how can I say this? They don't have the ability to, they don't relate to, people who don't have the things that they do. They don't empathize. They're not able to. They don't. They're not able to see other people as people. They just, I don't know. I would say dehumanize people, and I don't. It just comes naturally to them. That's just how their mentality is. And that sort of mentality is very dangerous, mind you. And it's certainly unappreciated, coming from me. But um, no, I don't. I want to move on with my life. I want to forget it. Really. I think it's just we all know what it was. So anyway, let's just move on from that. Anyway, also, yeah, people want me to do a video about races that come from the stars. And this is what I'm getting. Like, people want more information on this topic. I know a little bit about the issue. I mean, because I've read about it many years ago. Um, and then obviously, being reincarnated and coming from this particular race of people who are known to, every race comes from the stars, but I think what people want is like a detailed video. I'd like to do something like that, but I think to get a good idea of this topic, you'd have to do some deep research, but like I'm willing to do the work for you. Like I know there's certain races that go by different names, and obviously these particular alien races or whatever have their spawns in different locations, which creates different people, right? So we'll go into it when I can. Also, the other message I got was is that I should not pray for my oldest sister's soul, and I don't believe that she was a decent person. I think that she was a very morally corrupt person. But she had seemed like she always was fighting for some sort of like recognition, um, you know, within my meditations that I get from her. Like I have to say, she really pulled it off for a very long time. Like her contempt for me was pretty well hidden. I would say, because when I would go to like my other sister's house, who would always be the one who like made all the holiday dinners and stuff, like my sister that I'm not supposed to pray to, fuck it, her name is Tanya. Okay. There's no point in me even trying to protect her stupid ass. But anyway, she was always, giving me the side eyeball and stuff like that. And I thought she was just looking and angry because she was fucked up in a fucked up marriage, and she was like jealous of me a little bit. But I didn't realize that she like had this full on war against me. Like I had no idea that that it was that deep. And apparently, from the messages that I'm getting, is that she wanted to kind of like be me. So I don't know. I do think that perhaps maybe she had gotten in contact with the people that are in my soul tribe, is what I get. I kind of, I don't know how all that works. Perhaps I will find out. Like I said, all I have is time. All I have is time to think about stuff. But I don't know. Tanya always seemed like she wanted to fit in. She always wanted to find herself, and to be well adjusted. You know what I mean? Again, I guess that's what most people strive for, but maybe she didn't understand that striving for such things was really a waste of time. You know what I mean? It's a waste of time to strive for the shit the majority of people are like literally killing themselves for, because it's just really not worth it. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. Um, it's funny because most people, like my sister Tanya, she felt as though she needed to get married, she needed to do all these things, and it's not like I never thought that I would end up like in this situation. Okay, I did realize like when I got in my 30s that marriage probably wasn't for me, because um, I was an independent person. You know what I mean? But my situation was different than my sister Tanya. Tanya was like, she always tried to do the right thing. Like you know, um, she believed in the system that so many people follow, but yet they understand at this point, at some point in their life, they start to question the system. Like, is look, how can I say this? Is doing things for just to fit in really worth it? Like, is it just because every trend comes out, do you have to follow it? Do you have to do every single last thing that you see? You know what I mean? Do you have to be inspired, or like do you have to follow all the time? Do you have a mind of your own? And Tanya didn't have a mind of her own. She was somebody who was easily manipulated. You know what I mean? And she only the only validation that Tanya ever got to do anything is because other people were doing it. You know what I mean? It's not like she didn't ever think about like, was there any sort of like research done on this or whatever. It was just like, she would just do it because it's a popular thing to do or whatever. She wanted to you know get society's approval. You know what I mean? Which a lot of people get pushed into. You know what I mean? Because you either are them, or you're just going to be like kind of off on your own. So just myself, right? But just because everybody's doing something doesn't mean that it's a good thing. And Tanya was obviously somebody who was hungry for power, and obviously two-faced. When we were kids, like the kids in my family, we all had like little nicknames. My parents gave us like nicknames. Like my mom called me Mouse, and I was like the mouse of the house, right? I don't know why she called me that. She did tell me that there was a story about this little mouse that was wearing a dress that would twirl around in the mirror all the time. And because, okay, everybody knows that Maria looks in the mirror all the time. Okay, I do. I look in the mirror all the time. And no, it's not out of vanity. It's just because I like to pick myself apart. Like, I'll look at my clothes and keep thinking, well, this would look really cool with this particular hat. It says, what's wrong with that, right? But my mom just said, okay, well, you remind me of this story, right? It's funny that my sister Tanya was always referred to as a weasel. I'm starting to fucking see why. You know, I didn't get it at first. I kept thinking, well, Tanya doesn't really look like a weasel. I wonder what people call her a weasel. Now that I'm older, I understand. Maybe my family was around her enough to know that she was a conniving bitch. You know, I really thought that Tanya, even though Tanya was kind of like a follower or something, I really thought that perhaps maybe she did have some sort of deep desire to serve God. You know, because she talked about church all the time. Church to her was just some sort of social activity. It was a way of her getting in, fitting in, getting things, whatever. It was not something that she had no fucking morals. She had zero. You know what I mean? And so, no, I wouldn't even bother. I don't give a fuck about my sister telling you. She didn't care about me at all. Um, and you know, I felt it. I felt her lack of concern for me, you know, from a distance, if that makes any sense. I'm really glad that people are having a better image of my father. I mentioned this before. I can't tell you the suffering that my father experienced because of the targeting. And, you know, I've always had a high regard for my father. He was, to me, a beautiful man. Like, just to me, he was all the things that you could possibly ever imagine in a father. You know, he was attentive to us. Maybe I didn't really show it or appreciate him as much because you never really do. You never really do. But when you understand, like you've been around the character, I mean, different characters throughout, you know, your life, and you start to compare and contrast, and it's like, no, my father was an amazing man. He was a very good man to me, and you know, he was always very strong. He was always very brave. He was very vocal about, you know, his opinions and the way he saw things. And not only was he very serious, like I said, he had a really good sense of humor. You know, he was a very funny guy. You know, and just to be around him to me was like always something I looked forward to. Like I did a video many years ago. It's no longer on the internet. I believe it was called Five After Five. Five After Five was like when my dad would come home. Like, you know, because I think in the 70s, there was some sort of fluctuation in the gas prices, right? So, like, my dad took a bus to his work. Like, I guess this, like, special bus would, like, come to Lancaster and then take the people up to, like, the base, the Air Force base, right? So, like, he would come walking up, you know, down the street, and I would be waiting for him. And I remember he went to New York one time, and he came back from a business trip, and I was waiting for it. I mean, I was very connected to my father, very connected to him, you know. And um, you know, when I started noticing that he was forgetting stuff, you know, and I was on it like right away. Like just like a few years ago, I think before that, Rita Hayworth was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I remember finding this very interesting. Um, and I remember when my father started. It started one day when it was Wednesday, and he forgot to take the trash down, and we had been living in that house for years. Every Wednesday, he was like, it was like clockwork. He knew to take the trash out. And for some reason, it was just that one time that he forgot to take the trash out. And I realized that he was losing his mind. You know? And it was just that one time. And I kept thinking, I'm worried about my father. I'm worried about him. You know? And it was just like little things after, one thing after another. You know, like he would get up in the middle of the night and start opening doors that, you know, led to the closet or something. And I'm like, okay. My mom would kind of laugh it off, like, what are you doing? She used to call my dad Sid. So she was like, what are you doing, Sid? And he would just be, um, you know, really, you know, uh, disoriented, you know? So I started, like, really worrying about him. And so that's why I started doing research, you know, as to, like, this mental disorders. when he had that stroke, that's when he really went downhill. You know, he became unrecognizable. Like things that he took interest in, he didn't have an interest in anymore, except for music. So this is the thing, that music is so good for people with Alzheimer's, because the funny thing is he could forget a lot of stuff, but he would not forget the lyrics. Now I've heard of people forgetting the lyrics, but for him, the music was very good for him. Like music was like so important to him. And, you know, there were certain things that he liked, you know, that I thought was weird when I was younger, but they had special meaning to him. He was a huge Marty Robbins fan, you know what I mean? And that song, Big Iron, he just fucking loved that song. Right? So my dad was very just entertaining, just different, and just someone that I love very much. And I don't, you know, he didn't deserve having to die like that, you know. I think it's a terrible way to go out, really. Anyway, um, so yeah, people are starting to understand and kind of agree, you know, that hey, you know, Earth is hell, and I hope that that is some sort of incentive to people to take care of their lives a little bit better, you know, because you know, since you deserve to have some sort of like, you know, break from it, and you know, take care of yourselves by enjoying the things that you like to do. So that might be like singing, it might be art, it might be, I don't know, um, walking, jogging, knitting. You know, by the way, I was thinking about knitting a I should have done this before. And like I said, I can get so depressed that I will sit there for hours just thinking about shit. But and like it was so hard for me to just like go into the drawer and pull out my knitting loom. I got knitting looms. I've had them for quite a while. I was able to knit, you know, some beanies last year, or 2 years ago, made some scarves, you know, and I really wanted to make a beanie for my son, and I've just been sitting around, you know. I better hurry up because pretty soon it will be spring and I won't need it anymore. But I'm trying to be active. It's just, you know, I feel kind of demoralized right now. But yeah, I definitely think it's important to, you know, pursue things that you like to do, and do things that make you feel um, like you're content. You know, even if it's just for the moment, or take certain things with you. Like you might have a favorite watch that you wear, or something like that. It's these little small, little pleasurable things that are just for you that you really should indulge in. You know, to kind of give yourself a break from all the monotony of all this like drudgery. Also, oh, you know, British clothing. I love it. I love British clothing. I think I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and post a picture of this particular outfit for this video. But I remember meeting this dude and we were talking about clothes. And and he was like, I don't know what, you know, I don't know what to wear. He was basically tearing himself down because he didn't have, you know, he just didn't like, he wasn't one of those guys who just dressed up, right? And you know, the funny thing is, I remember recommending him like this outfit. Notice this hat on this dude, right? In this picture, right? Um, I've always, and I never realized it at the time, but I like British clothes. I like the way that they dress. I like it when they have that little scarf around their neck and shit like that. So when I was explaining it to him, he's like, he didn't understand it. Like he was used to wearing t-shirts and jeans or whatever. But yeah, British clothing to me is very cool. I love it. Anyway, um, yeah, I think that's about the only messages that I have at the moment. I'm trying to get into the swing of things. I'm trying to uplift my mood, you know. I will say that capsaicin tablets do a good job of raising my mood at times. Also, a lot of beans, you know, like kidney beans and stuff like that are good because it does, you know, get my brain functioning a little bit better. Um, it does, you know. these low moods come and go, and it's really the fact that I need to be active, and I'm just not. I'm just been sitting around, and no, I don't have the mental strength to pull myself out of it. You know what I mean? It comes in stages, and I'm being realistic, and I don't want to be too hard on myself. Even I can be hurt. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this video, and I'll be back with another one sometime later. Take care. Bye.